What's going on, guys? Joel back with you for another video here on the Snap-on Tool Review. Today, let's put together an engine. Alright guys, as I said, we're going to put this engine in today. If you guys haven't seen the first video, there's a link. So I'm going to walk you through it. I think I have all my parts here. Just waiting for the engine block to show up. So let me refresh your guys' memory. Alright, so this is the engine that we took apart, I guess last week or late or early the week before, whatever it was, I can't remember. Anyway, so we had an issue here with the piston. Obviously you guys can see that. We kind of ruled it down to just plain old detonation. So you can actually see, you can feel it actually. There's a huge hole in the piston. It's just something violent in here happened. And so anyway, we got approval for a short block. My head has come back from the machine shop, so we're going to rip that open, inspect it, make sure that it's all good before we go and put it on and all that kind of stuff. So we have all these parts laying here. We are going to put this all back together. Let's get to it. All right. Let me package this thing up tight. Let's cut this thing open. All right, we are going to flip this son of a bitch over. Make sure the job that they did looked good. Alright. If you guys remember, cylinder 2 was the one that was all chewed up. So it looks pretty good. Let's get the camera here. This is what we're looking at. So this was cylinder number 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and everything looks pretty good. They cleaned it up nicely. They replaced the valves. I believe they reseated the or reground the seats because it was they were all chewed up. So not bad, guys. Good job. All right, guys. We're just going to continue with ripping this engine off the tranny so we can get the new engine put on, ready to go, and we can continue to put this thing back together. Hopefully have this thing in and running today with any luck. Get the starter out of here. These bell housing bolts out. We're gonna get this piece out of the way here too in a second here. The tough part about getting back to doing an engine like a week and a half after you ripped it apart is always remembering where everything goes. And of course that's what kind of makes a mechanic one of those all-around good people. You know how to get everything back to the way it was before. dipstick tube. Alright guys, as strong as you may be, do not attempt this at home, please. Do not say that I showed you how to do this. Alright, I'm going to get this off. I'm going to drain this really quick, and we're going to take it over to the bench over there. So give me a second. Alright, we're going to rip this pan off here, and we got to get the balance shaft chain and stuff out of here. We're replacing the pan and the balance shaft pump assembly. So let's get this pan off here, and we'll be right back. That's how you do that. Oh, look at that, eh? Look at all that. Look at all that sludge and crap. I've seen worse inside there, though. All right, we're gonna get this assembly off. I'm gonna drain some of this oil that's in here again, and we're gonna get the chain off, and just keep going. We're gonna swap it over to the new engine. Got to get the flex plate off. Don't forget the flex plate, Jesse. All right, let's keep going. Set these aside. Let's take this tensioner out of here. I think we are reusing this tensioner. There's only certain things that Hyundai will let you change, and this tensioner is not one of them, I don't think. So get this chain off here. Take the sprockets off. Set this chain aside. Oh, I think I'm pretty much done. We got to take the oil cooler off, and I have the oil pressure sensor over here, and that's pretty much it. And we can get the new engine put on here and start building it. All right, we got an engine block. We have a front cover assembly. We have a balance shaft pump assembly. We are good to go. We should be flying here soon. So I'm gonna get this engine block out of here. We're gonna get it up onto the bench, flip her over, and start building this sucker. That's how you open a box. Do that on Christmas morning, eh? All right, looks like everything's here. Cool. All right, let's get it up on the bench. All right. There we go. This will be the, oh, where's the part number? It's great. I love seeing this part number. It's the shaft ass. The shaft ass. balancer. Get this out of the way. Let's get this up on here. I got new bolts for it, and we will torque it all up and get the chain all on there and get that thing going. So just one thing at a time, guys. All right, so there is a seating torque for these bolts, 21.7 to start, and then you're supposed to loosen them off and then proceed with the torque spec. So we're going to do that right now. This is why we buy this bad boy. So let's fire this thing up. And we will set this to 21.7. Well, there's no 21.7, so 22 foot-pounds. And we'll torque these babies down, and then we'll loosen them off. .22. Shouldn't need any hands here while we do this, but 22. Oh. I'll move around. All right, we'll go loosen them all off now. All right, then we're going to tighten them back up. All right, so all bolts get torqued down to roughly 17 and a half. Hyundai likes to give you a plus or minus torque spec, which I don't really think's cool, but we're going to torque them down to, just going to torque them down to 17. And then there's two different size bolts here. Which, by the way, it would be important to note that I did lubricate with oil before I put them in. And then there's two different specs for the angle. The short bolts have about a 45-degree angle, while the longer bolts, the three longer bolts, have a 90. So we're going to stick this onto the angle meter. Oh, we'll do the big ones first, actually. They're at 90. And the four shorter ones are around 40, 45. Let me just make sure. Yeah, 45 degrees or so. We have four of them, so we'll just do all four and then we're done. 1, 2, 3. And last but not least, there we go, we are done. We can start putting our chain together and all that shit, so let's just keep moving forward with that now. Alright. So there are 2 marks, 1 and 1. This one's already preset. And we have 2 colored links on this chain. It shouldn't really matter too much, but for all intents and purposes, I will line them up.
Homie, don't play that.
All right, and we will put the shoes on there, put our tensioner on. Oh my god. Look at this shit. Using it already. Oh, let's make it so it works. There we go. Oh, I love it. Put the tensioner in there. Okay.
Water right in the ear.
Oh, fucking hate that shit, man. I hate snow. I hate snow when it just fucking drips and drips and drips. Click. 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 All right. We're going to pull the pin. Everything's good. We can pull this pin. And that part's all done. All right, guys, this thing's all, the oil, or the balance shaft is all timed up. We are going to add some silicone around this thing, get the pan put down so that we can flip this thing over, get it onto our engine or onto our tranny and keep going. I use this stuff. This stuff's super awesome, and you're gonna see it. It works in a little bit of a trigger pump. It's awesome. It's by Worth. Stuff's killer. So anyway, let's get to it. You do this in one continuous pull if you wanted to, and it just makes it so much easier and cleaner. Just a nice little bead around it, and we can set this thing down and get her going. All right, well, you will make sure that the pan is dry and clean. Put the pan down. I got the bolts sitting to the side over here. Okay, let's put the bolts all in, get this thing all tightened up, and see you guys in a second. We'll have this thing on the train. And bang, just like that, she's on. We'll stick these little baffle things inside the cylinders. Don't forget those. And we'll just line this thing up. It doesn't take much. These things actually lay pretty flat on the table. Just manhandle this stuff in here. There, just like that, eh? Just like that. I heard it click. Put the bell housing bolts in. Okay guys, head gasket only goes on one way. You can't fuck it up. If you do, well, I'm not sure you should be doing this in the first place. And there's 2 dowel pins, 1 and 1. And then we can get the head on here. We got to take the caps back off the head, the cam caps, because they are on the head right now. Yeah, let's get that done. I got to take the caps off, put them back in order on my bench over here, and then we can get the head on, get it tightened down, and we're just gonna keep going from there. So we're getting close. All right, now's the time. Careful not to scratch the head gasket, and just goes down just like that. Super easy. We are gonna get the bolts in. I got them soaking in oil right now, and get the cams in, and hopefully the timing in, the cover on, and then we can then we're almost there where we can start putting all the other accessories on it. This is always the fun stuff. Remember, there are 2 bolts with no washers. The washers are already in the head. I put them in there already. And they are always the front 2 on this engine. Just the way the head's built. Something funny about it. All right, we're gonna get them seated down just a little bit, just gun them down, and then torque wrench comes out and we're gonna torque them all down. Okay, all right, we're gonna start from the center and just run them down until they just touch. The torque sequence, or the torque spec, is 25 foot-pounds all around, and then we're going to do 1 pass of 90 degrees and another pass at 90 degrees. So you're going to have to be very careful. This thing's just sitting on the bench like this. Anyway, we'll start with the 25s. So if this isn't cool enough, let's turn the light on here so you guys can see it. You see how it says 00? Now that is the amount of bolts that we're going to torque. There are 10 bolts in the head, so we're going to torque them down, and at the end of it, it should say 10, and if it says 9 or 8 or something like that, I know I've missed some. That's what I love about this torque wrench. It's so cool to use, and it's just damn worth the money. Okay, oh, 25 foot-pounds. Here we go. All right, give it a second. See how it says 10 right there, eh? Okay, so we're gonna do a pass of 90 degrees and then another pass at 90 degrees. So I may need someone to help me, but the first one should be no problem. The second one might be a little bit tough. So we got a layer flat for the torque angle. It's got a 0, and we're going to put this up to 90 degrees. And let's go. Again, it does the same thing with the torque meter. It counts how many you got. And then another great thing, if say you're in an engine bay and you just don't have the room to do a full 90-degree swing, it saves the swing for you, so you can actually ratchet it and keep going. It just continues to count it. There we go. Let that do its thing. And we got 10, and we're going to do it again. Do one more 90-degree. All right, success. All right, we can get the cams in, and the cam caps and everything, all the bearings all locked into place, torqued down, and put the chain on, cover on, and then we can go put the exhaust on, the intake on, and we're flying right along, guys. All right, let's get these cams on here. I don't know about you guys. I think there's something very therapeutic about, you know, putting an engine together and having it go right and having it start up and run at the end of it. It's always just one of those things I just love. So we're gonna get these torqued down, and then there's a torque sequence for these as well. Just gonna get these just cinched up just a little bit. Just to where it touches, and then we can run the rest down. And grab out the torque wrench. We'll torque these things down. Oh, we got two more here. All right, guys, I'm gonna torque these up, and then we can get going on putting the chain on. So we'll fast forward a little bit so we can get to the chain. Okay, we are going to get this lined up. At first, you have to be able to get these lined up. So you need this mark to match this mark. You need it to be straight across. You got to do that with a wrench on the cam, and we're going to line up the chain links. So there's 3 different colors. One is going to go right here, and then the other one's going to go here, and the other one's going to go here, and that's how we know we have it timed. Okay, we can tighten these up, sorry. And then I'm gonna take this cam and bump it over until this timing mark, until these 2 notches match up. Okay. Then what I like to do is I like to hold my chain nice and tight, and then I'll put this shoe on. Okay, so we have our mark is on there, our mark is on there, and we can go ahead and pull our tensioner out, the tensioner pin, and our timing is lined up perfectly. I'm going to roll this around a few times just to make sure that the timing, that these marks here still line up, and that's all we got to do. It's not a big deal. These will never line back up again, not for, you know, several revolutions. So I'm just going to roll it around a couple of times and make sure that the chain is still tight, and B, that these marks all line up. So, all right, we are going to roll the engine around 2 full revolutions. You're going to hear the tensioner click a few times as it's working. All right, let's take this crank bolt out. Set this back. And everything is still perfectly lined up, guys. Show you here. See right there, we got that mark and that mark still perfectly lined up, so we are timed, and we can go ahead and start putting the sorry about that. We can go ahead and start putting the cover back on. I got a new cover for it. I have to cut off this excess silicone, and then get the cover put on. And we're almost on the home stretch here, guys, before we start putting this thing back in. All right, guys, cover's on, chain's all in, it's all timed up. We got to put the valve cover on. I'm going to put the fuel rail in. I'm going to change injector number 2. It's the only one that I was approved to do. And yeah, and we got to put the rest of the accessories on, intake, exhaust, all that kind of shit. So we're flying right along here. Let's just keep going. All right, we got one injector. We'll take the cover off of it, get this one out. All right, so we got one new injector. We're gonna go put this onto the head. All right, a little bit of noise dampening. I'm gonna loosen the fuel rail off just a little bit so I can get the valve cover down, and we're gonna put that on now. All right, the nice part about doing this out of the car, there's no chances of rolling over the gasket. We had just Jesse the other day rolled over one on a 3.3, oil all over the place, so you know what happens. get this turbo assembly on. Hang a nut on here so we can walk away for a couple seconds. Grab my impact gun, we'll tighten this thing down. There should be, yeah, we got our coolant or our turbo feed lines. And we're moving quite along pretty good, so yeah, I'm happy. So kind of right on track here. Final stages, just got a couple of tiny little things to button up, and then this is going in the car. So we're gonna fast forward a little bit here and drop this thing in, or drop the car down on it, and we're gonna hopefully get this thing started today. All right, engine's sitting in there by itself, and we're gonna put up the subframe and get it all bolted up, and then we can drop it down and we can do our finishing touches, hooking up the coolant hoses and all that stuff, and getting this thing ready to give back to the customer. So give me a few minutes and we'll be down on the ground. All right, we're on the ground. We're gonna go ahead and hook up the rest of this stuff. Fuse box, PCM, transmission lines, oil cooler lines, all that shit, and we're almost ready to fire this thing up. I'll show you the process that I go through when I do a brand new engine or rebuild a new engine. I don't just start it up right away. There is a process for it so that we don't fuck shit up. Okay, give me a few more minutes, and we're gonna have this thing raring to go. So before I put the battery and all that stuff in, and I'll tell you why I wait in a second, I like to do a pressure test of the cooling system. How am I gonna do a pressure test, you might ask, if I haven't filled it up? Well, easy. We use the vacuum system refiller. So this will put a vacuum, or a cooling system refiller. This will put a vacuum on the system, and it's essentially a pressure tester. If it loses vacuum, if it drops in vacuum, we know that we have a leak. And the reason why I don't put the battery in is because we got coolant hoses right there. The battery, the air box is in the way. Everything's kind of in the way. This way I can tell, I can have a look around, make sure we got no more leaks, or no leaks, and then we can just continue on. We got to put oil in it still. I'm going to start with about 5 liters of 530, and then we are going to throw the battery and the air box in it, and we should be able to start this thing pretty soon. Oh, I still got to put the drive belt on it, so yeah, still got to do that. Not a big deal though. This cooling system refiller is one of the best tools that one can own. I'm not even gonna lie about that. It's if it's not snap-on, it can be whatever you got. I just recommend that everybody gets one. I'm gonna bring the camera over on this side so you guys can see what's going on. Okay, so we need to make sure that our seals are good. We're all sealed up and tight. I'm gonna close both these valves, and I'm just gonna open the one to suck a vacuum down. We're gonna watch this thing. Oh, we're good, we're holding. I'm gonna suck her down to about 25 inches of pressure, or a vacuum. and we're just going to hold it there. It's going to sit there for a little bit, and if it does not drop in pressure, which we are dropping in pressure a little bit right now, I have like a coolant hose or something off. I have a leak somewhere. I'm going to have a leak somewhere, so I'm going to have to find that now. So yeah, this is why we do this. Okay, so we got it all figured out, not a problem. I'm just finishing filling it right now. My drain cock on the radiator was just a little bit loose, so I'm just filling up the rest of it. I have 2 jugs of coolant here. Now, again, it is possible to, if you're running out of coolant in one jug, you can close the valve and switch it over into the next jug. It's not a problem, but this is such a time saver. After this, I will still use the burp bucket and just let it sit and run, you know, let the thermostat open so we can monitor the level of the coolant and make sure that there's no leaks even after we've done the vacuum fill. There's nothing worse than giving a car to a customer and you're confident that everything's good, and lo and behold, there's a coolant leak and it comes back, right? So anyway, let's get the burp bucket on here. I still got to put oil in it. I got to put the battery in. Couple of things to do still. I got to put the belt on it, and yeah, this thing's going to be up and running in a couple of minutes here. All right, guys, everything is hooked up that I know of. There's always, you know, there's always a chance of having something unplugged, but everything's in, battery's in, airbox is in. The only thing I have not put in yet is the fuel pump fuse and the spark plugs. What I'm going to do, what I like to do, is make sure the engine cranks over, get some oil pressure to the timing chain tensioner, and get that all pumped up, and then I will throw the spark plugs in it and roll it over or crank it over with compression, but still no fuel pump, and then from there we'll put the fuel pump fuse in and get this thing started. So, moment of truth, here we go. All right, so you heard it, rolls over nice and silent. No compression, obviously, because the spark plugs aren't in. So now we can go ahead, we'll put the spark plugs in it, and we'll crank it over a few more times with compression, and then we should be good to go. Start it up. I do have one new plug for cylinder 2, because I showed you the plug, it was just completely chewed up. Porcelain was all missing out of it. Use my my trusty old spark plug torque wrench. Click, click. All right, spark plugs are in, and we're gonna crank it one more time, and then we'll put the coils in it, put the fuel pump fuse in, and start this baby up. Okay, let's put the coils in. Fuel pump fuse in. Okay guys, moment of truth. Is it gonna start? Is it gonna run? It's gonna sound like shit right away, obviously, but that noise will go away. It's always the worst part of my whole day is when it sounds like crap. Obviously, it's okay, but okay, let's start it up. No knocking, no misfiring, no engine lights on. I'm gonna let this thing sit and run for a little bit. I got a couple small little things to do up on it, the undercarriage and all that stuff. So I got to put the connect the steering wheel back up to the rack, and it's all done. So yay for me, right? Alright guys, that is a wrap. 2015 Santa Fe 2-liter turbo rebuild. Yeah, went pretty good. Actually, you might be able to tell the video was filmed over a couple of days, waiting for parts and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I know, unfortunately, it's got to tie up a bay and all that shit, so it's something that I hate. But you know, luckily I have a bay next to me. But this one is done. It's a wrap. I got to test drive it, and we're good to go. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I can't wait to make more videos like this. In fact, the next few months this is my goal, is to make a lot more of these videos. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Remember to comment, like, share, subscribe, and peace out guys. I will see you in the next one. Thank you.